For thousands of years, the Oracle of Delphi was one of the strangest enigmas of the ancient world. Here it was believed the gods spoke, their words rising from a bubbling chasm in the rocks. But could there be a rational and scientific explanation for what has long been dismissed as legend?
Developed by these Greeks. But how did the Greeks do it? What gave them the time and the energy?
The Pythagoras school had gained significant enough political influence in the council of Pythagoras, and was thus rejected from cult membership, thrown off a boat to be exact, while escaping a fire set by Hippasus in a mob at Pythagoras' wife Milo's house, with his disciples Archippus and Lasus. He fled.
Agamemnon gathers soldiers from across the Greek Empire and launches an all-out attack on Troy. War rages for 10 long years, until the hero Odysseus brings the fighting to an end with a clever trick. The Greek, I'm on a hunt for the warriors who fought the Trojan War, using clues and take Helen back to Greece.
There are also certain duties to be observed toward those who may have injured you. For there is a limit to revenge and punishment, nay, I know not whether it may not be enough.
In Athens, slaves had a certain level of respect. In Athens, some slaves dressed better than normal people. They were considered almost citizens.
Most important source of wisdom in the entire Greek world, where every major decision that was made was checked out by sending someone to Delphi to get the advice of the god. People came to ask the oracle where to found a colony, when to start a war, who to choose as...
It was here that the priestess, the Pythia, gave consultations to the most powerful men of the ancient world. 9 times a year, the Pythia was called upon to enter the deepest and...
But when the Roman Empire collapsed, the world fell into darkness, and the art and science of the baths was lost.
There is firm evidence that men and women did bathe completely naked together. And all the time noise. Romans loved...
Indeed, most slaves were in much worse conditions. Agricultural slaves were subject to the whims of their owners and were seldom emancipated. But possibly the worst off were the mining slaves. Conscripted by rich Greeks, they were put into mines to look for precious
weapons of Homer's Trojan War. And they discovered a society with a rich warrior culture, just like the Mycenae of the Iliad and the Odyssey.
We know that
a massive retaliation. The prophecy was fulfilled. Croesus had indeed destroyed a great kingdom, his own. Like all who petitioned the oracle, Croesus had to walk past an inscription on the temple, 2 words that could be read as an exhortation or a warning. No.
So toxic that any small animal wandering into its path would be killed, and when I visited the temple, there were still dead sparrows all over the ground. We were in on a game of milking money from the public with these oracles, but that there wasn't any genuine belief. Once it's up to the surface, either as a free gas or dissolved in the water, which shows he must have been able to see bubbles coming up through the water.
He never said, you know, it's a hydrocarbon gas or it's a sulfate gas or this or that. He just said gases. And he said that those gases were influencing the Pythia.
On the ordained sacred days that they entered the Aditon, they underwent fasting and purification to help calm and prepare them for the ordeal ahead. The ancient rituals were violated only once, and it led to disaster.
Forced the woman down, even though she knew it was the wrong day. Prophecies were only supposed to be given from the tripod, inspired by the god, through the voice of the Pythia on the 7th day after each new the leader.
The world's most sacred sites. De Boer began searching the rocky hills around Delphi, once the center of prophecy for the ancient world. It was here, nearly a decade before, that De Boer had found...